All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're putting together the ultimate cheat sheet for spawning into AQA's historic environment requirement for Restoration England. Look, if you're currently grinding through your GCSE History Paper 2 prep, specifically Section 3.3.2 BD Britain Part 4, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break this whole historical environment thing down into super clear, actionable steps. We'll decode exactly what the exam board actually wants from you, how to analyze whatever site you're assigned, and how to connect, the literal physical stones of a building to those massive cultural shifts of the late 17th century. But before we even look at the map, I want you to remember this absolutely crucial stat, 10%. In real terms, according to the AQA spec, that equals about 12 guided learning hours out of your total 120 hours for the entire course. So to put that into perspective, it's a relatively small chunk of time, but it's a highly focused, highly rewarding section of your revision, if you know exactly how to play it. Okay, here's our quest log for today. We've got a structured blueprint to conquer this. First, spawning in the environment. Then, blueprints, location and structure. 3, the players, designers and occupants. 4, crafting culture and values. 5, game mechanics, change and continuity. And finally, leveling up for exam success. Let's just jump right in. Right, Section 1, spawning in, the environment. Let's figure out what this map actually entails. So, every single year, AQA drops a new specific site into the server for this exam. They actually announce it 3 years in advance, so your teachers already know exactly which site you're studying. But honestly, here's the best part. You might think you need to act like a tourist, but actually, scratch that. The syllabus explicitly states there is zero requirement to visit the specified site in real life. You don't get any extra marks for a field trip. Your real objective here is just to examine the relationship between this specific place and the wider historical events of the era. Ultimately, the goal of this map is to, quote, enrich students' understanding of Restoration England. So it's not just about memorizing boring architectural features, right? It's about using a specific location as a literal magnifying glass to understand what life was actually like in England between 1660 and 1685 under King Charles II. Moving on to Section 2, Blueprints, Location and Structure. Time to look at the physical building blocks. The syllabus is pretty clear about your basic inventory requirements. Before you start making any grand historical claims, you absolutely have to know the site's basics. Where is its location? What is its physical structure? And honestly, most importantly, what was its function? So, let's talk about function, because that is a foundational block for your exam answers. Function is the intended purpose of the site within the historical context of Restoration England. So was it built for defense? Was it for trade? Or maybe for entertainment, like those newly reopened theaters of the era that were finally flourishing after the strict Puritan rule? Keep in mind, a structure's function dictates exactly how people interacted with it. Okay, Section 3, the players, designers, and occupants. Every structure needs builders and residents, so let's identify the NPCs on this map. You really need to log these key players in your mental inventory. The AQA board specifically asks you to look at the people connected to the site. Who was the originator? Like, who actually had the idea and the money to build the thing? Who was the designer or the architect? And who were the occupants who actually used the space? Think about Christopher Wren and the massive rebuilding of London after the Great Fire of 1666. The designers and originators fundamentally shaped that new environment. And these people aren't just background characters. The syllabus tells us that examining these individuals and their spaces illuminates exactly how society was governed and what their beliefs were. I mean, a grand, sprawling, stately home is going to tell a completely different story about wealth and governance than, say, the cramped, bustling energy of a London coffeehouse or the sheer industrial noise of a naval dockyard. Which brings us to Section 4, Crafting Culture and Values. Let's see how physical design meets the cultural lore of the time. This perfectly illustrates how you have to connect the micro to the macro. You're required to evaluate how the design of your site reflects the culture, values, and fashions of the people. And wow, the Restoration was an era of massive cultural shift. Charles II brought back these extravagant new fashions, a profound love for arts and sciences, and that witty Restoration comedy. So, if your site is a theater or a grand sweeping garden, how does its physical design embody those vibrant post-Puritan values? Crucially, you've got to understand how key features of the site changed from earlier periods. You literally cannot understand the Restoration without understanding what came right before it, the brutal Civil War and the super austere Commonwealth. How does your site look or function differently than it would have, say, 50 years prior?
All right, Section 5, Game Mechanics, Change and Continuity. Let's master the server rules, or as the exam board likes to call them, second-order historical concepts.
To score high, you're going to use 4 specific mechanics to analyze your site: change, continuity, causation, and consequence. Now, these aren't historical events themselves, they're the analytical tools you use to examine the site. Your exam question will specifically ask you to draw on these. You might have to explain what caused the site to be built, the consequences of its construction, or how it represents a major change in society. Now, change is usually pretty easy to spot, right? But don't sleep on continuity. Continuity asks you to explain the logic of why certain features stayed the same or survived the test of time. Did traditional landholding practices just continue on? Did the fundamental social hierarchy remain set in stone, literally and figuratively, inside the walls of a stately home? Analyzing what didn't change is honestly just as powerful as analyzing what did. Finally, Section 6, Leveling Up, Exam Success. Let's connect your specific site to the wider world for those top marks. Okay, this right here is the ultimate boss-level question you need to be ready for. The AQA board explicitly states you must consider how important events and developments from the broader depth study connect to your specific site. You just cannot study this location in a vacuum. You built a top-tier answer block by block by connecting the environment to wider events. The syllabus covers stuff like mercantilism, the navigation acts, the expansion of the slave trade. Does your site connect to those massive economic shifts? Or maybe it ties into the political paranoia of the Popish plot, the Rye House plot, or the naval warfare with the Dutch. If you can explicitly trace the impact of those macro events all the way down to your physical location, you are absolutely hitting the top marking bands. Depending on the year you take the exam, your site will likely fall into one of these core categories. Whether it's a stately home showing off newfound royalist wealth, a theatre showcasing new cultural freedoms, or a town recovering from the Great Plague or the Fire of London, your site acts as a critical, physical anchor for the broader historical narrative. Because your final objective across this entire history course is to make valid historical claims. When you sit down to write that essay, you're taking on the role of the historian. You're taking a physical place, dropping it into the context of 1660 to 1685, and proving how it reflects the real lived realities of Charles II's England. So as you're finalizing your revision strategy, I want to leave you with this to chew on. If your historical site is just one single block in the massive map of Restoration England, what wider story does its creation, its design, and its survival tell us about the people who actually built it? Master that connection, and you'll absolutely crush this historic environment exam. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy studying.